Namaste. So I'm here by myself today because I didn't have time to meet with Steve. So it might be less interesting. I don't know. But I just felt like I'm just going to read some of the Song of Ribhu from where we are, which is chapter 31. I'm just going to read a bit, and because I'm not talking to anyone, I probably won't say anything unless I want. So this chapter is called The Truth of Non-Duality Explained with 64 Examples. I'm not reading every single verse. So, or maybe I am. I don't know. Okay, start on first. In this discourse, I shall present to you the certain knowledge of the unparalleled, undivided Absolute, with exceedingly wonderful analogies that make for interesting listening, and become the means for faultlessly grasping the sacred, direct experience of the Supreme Brahman. By listening to this rare exposition, one can attain true liberation quickly. It is the truth. It is the truth. The world exists not. Sankalpa, concept, fixed ideas, and Vikalpa, notion, imagination, doubt, exist not in the least. The eternal, blissful Brahman is the only changeless, perpetual, established truth. That non-dual Brahman alone is the unattached, the afflictionless, the undecaying, and the undivided. There is not the least of any concept of duality here. There is not an iota of action to be performed here. Apart from the nature of the indivisible Brahman, there can never be a concept of the world. Apart from the substratum of the knowledge of the nature of Brahman, there is never the slightest appearance of the visible world. Apart from the whole and perfectly full Brahman, there is never anything like the world or such. To drive home this truth to you in depth, we shall give diverse examples. The world and all illusion would be real if anyone would be afraid of the words of the son of a barren woman. The son of a barren woman obviously doesn't exist. The world would be real if anyone is killed, as if by an arrow, by a horn blown by a hunter on a hill. The world would be real if the horns of a horse would become real and charge at something. When inquired into thoroughly, there is no world at all. The clear, supreme Brahman is the only reality. And I suppose that's the really important part, when inquired into thoroughly. That's our job that we each have to do inside ourselves. The sky and such would all be real if one could obtain satisfaction by drinking from the waters of a mirage. The world, as it is called, would be real if the city of Gandharvas, mythical celestial beings in the sky, like castles in the air, would be a reality. The world would be real if the blue colour of the sky were a reality. When inquired into thoroughly, there is no world at all. The Supreme Brahman of the nature of awareness is the only reality. The world would be real if the silver appearing in a shell could provide real ornaments for anyone. The world would be real if any people died of snakebite from the illusory rope serpent. The world would be real if anyone anywhere could enjoy the fragrance of the imaginary flower in the sky. When inquired into deeply, there is no world at all. The Supreme Brahman of the nature of knowledge is the only reality. Basically, the world is not real. I'm skipping a few verses. the world would be real. All of them means the world is not real. If a tiny mosquito could quickly overcome a lion and be victorious, the world would be real. If a bee could swallow the Meru mountain like a fruit and spit it back, the world would be real. If the macrocosm could be within the belly of an atom, the world would be real. If inquired into without blemish, there is no world at all. The great supreme Brahman is the only reality. It's like the mind could make an argument for any of those things. That like maybe that could happen. Maybe a mosquito could overcome a lion or any of the other things. But even if that did happen, it still wouldn't be real. Because I think the most important thing that it says, at least here to me, the most important thing it says is if inquired into. If inquired into. Because that just means that we're looking and checking for ourselves. So don't only believe these words, although these words maybe gives inspiration or courage or something. But really if inquired into. And that's my job. To inquire into. Especially if something seems real. inquire. And then what do we find? We find the great supreme Brahman is the only reality. If a dream object continued to exist unaffected in the waking state, the world would be real. If the swift flowing current of a river would stop and be motionless, the world would be real. If a man born blind could efficiently judge the qualities of a gem, the world would be real. If inquired into without any other thoughts, there is no world at all. The supreme Brahman of undivided nature is the only reality. Should anyone tie up the vacuous sky with a reel of rope, the world would be real. Should the reflected image of the formless sky be a real object, the world would be real. Should an elephant be born from the womb of a lowly goat, the world would be real. When inquired into knowledgeably, there is no world at all. The supreme Brahman, a mass of knowledge, is the only reality. And he's basically saying the world is not real, the world is not real, the world is not real, the world is not real. The supreme Brahman alone exists. If there be anyone who has obtained enjoyment or liberation without the grace of the supreme Shiva, the world would be real. This is a joyful sentence here. It's like we need the grace of grace. We need grace to inquire into and to see that only the supreme Brahman is real. Because grace is what does it. And really grace is just another word for what we are, or maybe the inspired action. Grace could be a word for inspired action or inspired inspiration. No, I don't know. If there be anyone who has obtained enjoyment or liberation without the grace of the supreme Shiva, that basically really means supreme Shiva. Supreme Shiva does it. Supreme Shiva inquires. Supreme Shiva. Supreme Shiva's hand is in everything that happens. If inquired into without blemish, there is no world at all. The only thing that exists eternally is the supreme Brahman, as told by the supreme Shiva, the embodiment of grace. I have thus expounded this to you with 64 examples, that the supreme with no second is the only truth. If there is pursuit of truth in this manner, there is no world, individuals, or the supreme. Whatever is seen as divided, on inquiry, will turn out to be not a bit different from Brahman. Is there anything except thread when cloth is analysed? Is there any other evaluation except as earth when a pot is analysed? Hence, there is not a trace of duality, nor non-duality, nor anything apart. The only perfectly full reality that exists is the Supreme Brahman, the mass of knowledge, attaining the partless, undivided knowledge that I, indeed, am the undifferentiated Supreme Brahman, and being rid of the adverse miseries of the worldly existence, you yourself become the exalted, undivided Supreme Nature. If the appearance of the world, which is a consequence of ideas, affects you in the least, immediately eliminate these by considering all this as the partless Supreme Brahman, and knowing I am the Brahman. If the deadly disease of mind flares up still, destroy it by taking the wonderful medicine of meditation on the undivided Supreme. If any illusions of difference arise in the mind due to delusion, sweep them aside immediately by contemplation of the pure Supreme Brahman and be your own self. I love this. It's not just words that you have to believe. Yeah, that you have to believe without having the experience. He's actually like telling us what to do. He's saying inquire into, and then he's also saying this. If your mind flares up still, destroy it by taking the wonderful medicine of meditation on the undivided Supreme. If any illusions of difference arise in the mind due to delusion, sweep them aside immediately by contemplation of the pure Supreme Brahman and be your own self. If, due to nescience, the body and such appear as the self, be rid of this nescience at once by establishing yourself in the contemplation of the self that is the expanse of consciousness, and be of your own true nature. If the evil adversary, the ego, enervates and envelops you, instantly rend it asunder by the sword of contemplation. I am Brahman, and abide in your own nature. If the hard knots of mind harass you, with courage cut through them in a moment. With the discus of the contemplation of the Supreme, and be established in your natural self. If the illusion that the body and such are I persists, immediately kill this illusion with the conviction that I am the one perfectly full absolute. If the ghost of the non-self appears, quickly drive it away by the mantra of contemplation of the self, and shine as the self of immaculate nature. Even if the ghost of diverse doubts assails and frightens you, lay the ghost of doubt to rest fearlessly by the mantra of the contemplation of the Absolute. If the fickle phantom of duality follows you further, subdue it today undaunted by the sacred ashes of non-dual meditation, and remain as the powerful one. They who, with all their attention, listen daily to this certitude of the One Absolute, by the endless strategies here described, will attain complete Brahman knowledge, and, rid of all attachments, become the Supreme themselves. There is not the least doubt in what has been said. This is the truth. Is there ever any doubt at all about what the omniscient Shiva has pronounced? Only those who have realized as their own selves the Supreme Shiva, who is the creator, preserver, and destroyer of all, who remains without an atom of difference, unattached, all complete and perfectly full, the peaceful existence knowledge bliss, will become that Supreme Shiva, who is undivided and blissful. Thus did Ribhu, propound to Nadaga the unparalleled supreme reality. It is the undivided form of the Lord of Gods in a state of supreme, joyous dance that here proclaims the certitude of the One Supreme by a string of analogies for the understanding of all, and that the supreme reality, which is existence, knowledge, bliss, is ever changeless, and that this world and such never exist. Thank you. Thank you to Ribhu and Nadag. This is enough. We don't need all the millions of tools and ideas and spiritual stories, things in the world. This is totally enough. Enough for what? Enough to satisfy your heart. To be yourself. To be liberated from ideas. Oh my gosh.